Hey guys, welcome back to Hawkeye's Drift Garage. My name is Chris, and today I'm going to share with you my Fanatec CSL DD 5 Nm wheelbase settings for drifting on Assetto Corsa. Alright guys, quick disclaimer, I am no way affiliated with Fanatec or have I received a discount on this product. I purchased this product through their pre-order back in October, and I've had it for about 4 months now, and I've got it pretty much set up to what I think would simulate my drift car setup feeling for steering. I've driven a lot of S chassis, and so far this has been what's the closest to me in terms of drifting, and I'd like to use this setup pretty much for all my drift cars and fine-tune all the cars I drive through Assetto Corsa. And yeah, let's get straight into my settings. Alright, so the first setting here on the Fanatec control panel is maximum steering. Now, for maximum steering, you're actually going to want to keep it at auto, because you're going to want to change this setting in Content Manager under the wheel settings, under steering. And I like to run mine at 1080 degrees of steering. That's what I think the rotation should feel like for a more realistic feeling. And so that's what I run. Alright, the next setting is force feedback strength. Now for force feedback strength, you want to keep this at 100%. The reason being that this makes sure that you get all the force feedback strength that the DD wheel should be simulating power-wise through the actual base. And you're going to want to change this setting through the actual in-car that you're driving in-game. Now, I like to run my in-car setting around like anywhere between 80 to 100% force feedback, depending on the car, because each car feels different in terms of force feedback, and it's a personal preference also. But to make sure that your wheel is actually acting correctly, you want to run 100% force feedback strength and 100% gain. Now I like to run my filter at 0, minimum force at 0, curb effects all at 0. I do run soft lock. Now the reason why I run soft locked on the drift setup is because it helps simulate like you're maxing out at your steering angle and you're hitting lock, like you're running out of steering rack. Without this setting on, I found that when you hit steering lock, there is no steering lock, and the force feedback on the wheel kind of dies. So I suggest turning this on if you want to have some sort of like marker to know where the wheel is actually hitting. Otherwise, you're probably, if not already experiencing this, you're getting to full lock and then the wheel gets a little weird and loses feedback, and you're kind of fighting it to get it back or whatnot. So suggest to run soft lock. I do run skip force feedback steps 1. This one, you know, you can run it at 0 or 1 or whatever you want. I kept it at 1 from my T300 days, because I was on a T300 prior to this, and it seems to be fine. Post-processing 0, center boost range 10%, lower speeds force feedback reduction 3 kilometers. Low speed force feedback strength 1%. Experimental, I have this all turned off. I don't run it. Natural damper, this is all personal preference again. This kind of messes with oscillations and frictions and the turning speed of your wheel. I run this at 10%. I found that it's a safe spot to run it at. If you want to run more, I wouldn't run too much more, but you know, fiddle around with it, see what feels best for you. Natural friction. This kind of gives like a more like a rubbery type of feeling on your steering wheel, where it kind of feels like the I guess you would say rubber band effect. It's hard to explain, but it adjusts the friction effect, which isn't influenced by a game, so it's generally off based on what they're saying, but don't worry about it. Run it low or run it at whatever you want. I run 2%. I think it's a good safe spot to run. Natural inertia I have off. The force feedback interpolation filter, I run it at 11. I don't know, I just have it at 11 and it seems to be working out just good for me. Force effect intensity, 100%. You want that 100% force effect. So, all right, after that, you're going to want to go into your CSP settings and you're going to want to go to force feedback tweaks. Now, under force feedback tweaks, I'm running basic, active on, miscellaneous tweaks. I've got the McPherson strut, force feedback adjustment, disable force feedback during loading, more physically accurate gyro implementation. I have this active. Now, I had this active on my T300 and I kept it on when I got the CSLDD and I kept the strength at 25% and it feels good. So I kept it. Additional post-processing, range compression, I still have it at 100%. I don't think I mess with that. And recently I turned on the output real steering forces to wheel. So I have that at active and I changed the wheel peak torque to 5 Newton meters, which is what this wheel is set for the peak. This feels good to me. So run that. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is, oops, let's go back here. No, not that one. All right. So, for example, I've got my Sujigiri Pro Lexus SC300. Let's just go here, VDC Biker Nikki 2022. It's a cool design that Sujigiri Ben designed for me for my pro car that I competed in last year through the Sujigiri Drift Challenge Championship, I believe. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got my logo here. Ben designed that as well. Thank you, Ben. And yeah, so when you're in car, you're going to want to go to your force feedback settings here, and you're going to want to adjust this to, you know, whatever you want it to be at. Now, slips, road, curbs, ABS, I have that all at 0 because the force feedback is strong enough to already register what's going on the track. You can run it a little bit more if you want, give it a little bit more feeling, but to me, I think this is good enough. Now, for the actual force feedback, I would suggest to run anywhere between, I don't know, 80 to 100 force feedback. And on some cars, I actually go over it because some cars actually have less force feedback than they should. If the steering wheel still feels too light, I would say go up more, maybe to 115, 120. It's all personal preference at that point. If it's too strong, you know, even at 80, keep going down. Go down 5 increments of 5, 10, whatever. Just find that sweet spot that you feel is good. I spend a lot of time tuning my cars and get that steering feel that I think should feel good. So yeah, let's do a couple little videos here and see what it looks like. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Hawkeye's Drift Garage. I hope that these settings will be useful to you on drifting on Assetto Corsa with the Fanatec CSL DD. If you guys have any feedback or comments, please leave them below. Like and subscribe this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.